Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back for another card review. So I know this is going to be a super long card review, right? Because X has many forms, right? So I'm going to go through everything, right? So I'm going to be as fast and as detailed as possible, right? So let's go. Leader skill. When team consists of only Machina, so this is going to be a pure Machina playstyle, right? No water attributes, non-Machina water attribute playstyle. Alright, so team attack times 6.5, HP and recovery times 1.3, so this is actually pretty decent already. Right, so point number 2, by dissolving water or hard runestones, right? So it doesn't have to be both. Team attack times 3 additionally, so that is actually a very big conditional multiplier of times 3. Alright, so we have also runestones possession. Water, light, as well as hard runestones possess 50% effect, and if you pair it leader ally, it's going to be 100% effect. Right, so we have a three color attacking runestones. Right, so these 3 colors isn't rare. We have Su Huanzhen running water, light, hard. We have Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho also running water, light, hard. So this isn't a very new combination anymore. Alright, so moving for the team skill, we have point number 1, extend rune movement time regardlessly. They didn't mention it here, but it is to extend regardlessly by 2 seconds. Alright, so we have attack up, also pretty vague. So if you spend 2 seconds moving, you have team attack times 2.2. If summoner spends more than 4 seconds moving runestones, or X attack times 3 additionally, and you will deal damage regardless of fixed combo and initial shield. Alright, so I have covered point 2, 3, 4 for that. Alright, so not gonna be a very fast boss rush kind of team, because you need to hold out your spin time as long as possible, something like Jabia. Right, so I did mention that all X attack times 3 additionally, so you will expect many different forms of X to be in the team, right, to increase this damage. Alright, so we have X that converts the attribute converts into the attribute of leader, right? So X here, you can kind of put it into a 0 team and you convert into fire. If you put it into the ultimate armor X team, it's going to convert into dark, right? So I have players asking, why is my X in a weird color, right? That is why. Alright, okay, so last but not least, energy tank. We've go through this a lot of times. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Alright, so basically your special Dragonary Craft effect. Alright, so for X, active skill, charge shot, CD2, very short, right? So kind of like a Pisces kind of convert here, right? So but point number 1, you actually increase fuel of Machina for 15%. So every 2 turns you get to increase 15%. So usually for X, for Machina team with X inside, you should be able to get your fuel to 100% very quickly. Alright, so point number 2, turn runestones as many as the accumulated rounds plus 2, right? So which means that you're going to be able to constantly convert at CD2, right, into enchanted Machina runestones of the character's attribute. Counter attribute rank first in priority, right? So for water, you're going to convert fire in priority. Okay, so to the max 7 runestones, and for 1 round, the more accumulated rounds, the higher the character's attack. So for 5 accumulated rounds is times 4, right? It's a pretty okay mini burst, right? But it's kind of this kind of active skill is very similar to what we have in the Mega Man classic games, right? So the longer you hold, the higher the damage. Alright, and because X active skill is extremely long, we have a page 2 for his active skill, right? So this is still the same active skill, right? So point number 4, when the skill is activated upon reaching the max accumulated rounds, you get to restore all cracked positions, right? So be prepared to have cracked positions for this upcoming collaboration again. Right, so if you do not have X, please have all the other crack restoration cards, such as your fusion demons that we have recently, as well as some other cards I can't think of from the back of my head right now. Okay, so this is just a prediction. Alright, so with that, we're done with the first X. In my opinion, I don't think it's going to be very useful, because of the multiplier. It's going to be one of the weaker X model, right? But unless you're going to use it to kind of counter fixed combo shield and initial shield, then you use X as a leader, right? If not, I think the first armor X and the second armor X that I'm going to talk about later is going to be a better leader, right? So, upon virtual rebirth, you will have access to first armor X as well as second armor X. So let's talk about the first armor first. With the leader skill, team only Machina, same thing, no change, but we have an increase in your team multiplier, right? So team attack times 6.8 instead of 6.5, so that is a 0.3 increase, right? But remember, leader ally, so that is going to make a very big difference, right? And we have HP and recovery times 1.5 instead of 1.3. So in all stats, all three stats, this is definitely better than the base model X. So same thing, by dissolving water or earth runes, dissolving water or hard runestones, you have an additional 3.3 times team attack, right? Higher than what we have, times 3 for the base model, and we have the same effect, runestones possession, for point number 3. Alright, so as for team skill, basically the same thing as the base model, just that we have an extended rune movement time regardlessly. It's also by 2 seconds, and if you hold it more than 2 seconds while spinning, team attack times 2.2, and then more than 4 seconds, attack of all X times 3.3 additionally. And then we have an extra one, which is if you spend more than 6 seconds moving runestones, damage of all X will be dealt regardless of trio elemental shield as well as quintet elemental shield. Right, so point number 3 and point number 4 is conditional as well. You have to hold your spin for more than 6 seconds, equal or more than 6 seconds. Alright, so energy tank, same thing, so I'm just gonna move on. Alright, so for the active skill, we have a way longer CD, right, CD 7, so, and a more useful active skill as well. Right, so point number 1, you get to tap 3 rolls, any rolls, right? So this, you get to explode frozen runes as well for this one to generate water and hard enchanted runestones of fixed number and fixed position, right? So it's basically 3 sets of water and 3 sets of hard, if I'm counting it correctly. Okay, so on top of that, all X attack times 2.2 additionally, right? So this one, you kind of know you want to put as many X in your team as possible to get this maximum multiplier boost, right? So if not, if you're going to put cards like 0, you're going to put cards like all the small little jackpot, then point number 2 is going to be obsolete, right? Because it only applies to leader and ally, right? So best is you have a virtual rebirth, first armor or second armor, and then in between you have the base model X, or you have the ultimate armor X, right? To kind of maximize this X boost. And with that, I have come to the second armor X, right? So note that there is a change in attribute, right? So from water machina, you can actually convert it to a light machina. So don't be shocked if you can't find your X in under the water machina category. It might be in your light machina category. Okay, right? So for leader skill, we will have a full machina playstyle as well. Right? So this is the highest multiplier out of all the X. Right, I'm not sure about ultimate armor, right? But first armor, second armor, and the base model X, this one has the highest team attack of 7, with the sacrifice of the HP and recovery by a bit, right? So we have times 7, and then HP and recovery times 1.4, right? So for first armor, you actually have a HP recovery of 1.5, so you kind of sacrifice 0.1 of that to add more to your team attack. Right, so being a light machina, so now this time by dissolving light or hard runestones, you get a times 3.3, so there's no change in terms of the team attack boost additionally, right? It's just the change of water to light runes. And then point number 3 is basically the same, because we do have the same 3 runestones in play as well for 50% effect, right? 100% for leader and ally. Alright, so moving on with the team skill, we have extend rune movement time regardlessly by 2 seconds as well, right? So attack up is referring to the longer you hold, the more effects you kind of gain by doing that, right? So I'm going to go through that. So my holding more than 2 seconds, you have a team attack times 2.2. Holding more than 4 seconds gives you all X times 3.3 additionally. More than 6 seconds will give you damage of all X dealt regardless of defense as well as puzzle shield, right? So this point number 3 and point number 4 is the one that differs from your first armor X. Alright, so acquire an energy tank. I'm not going to talk about it as well. Alright, so it really depends whether you want to use the first armor or the second armor based on what kind of enemy skills you want to ignore, right? So whenever there is quintet enchanted elemental shield that you want to ignore, then you want to bring first armor, right? If you want to ignore defense, or you want to bypass some annoying puzzle shields such as the race rune shields and stuff like that, you might want to bring in second armor X as your leader, right? So regardless of enemy defense, we're talking about petrified runes nowadays, right? So petrified runes, if there is ridiculous amount of petrified runes with high defense, right, you can bring in second armor X to deal with that, regardless of enemy defense, right? So you can actually use this to your advantage, right? Pick which one is more ideal in that battle scenario. Alright, and finally, for second armor X active skill at CD 7, you get to tap 3 rolls as well, same as your first armor X, but this time to generate enchanted light as well as enchanted heart runestones. Right, so same thing, just that it is light runestones this time. So the difference is point number 2. Character launches an extra water and fire attack as much as 4 times of his attack. Right, so I find that first armor X active skill would be better as it applies to more than one character, if you have more than one X in the team, right? So by default, you have already kind of increased leader and ally. So if you have more X in the team, that will apply to more cards in the team, right? Whereas second armor X second point only applies to the leader itself, right? It's not even leader ally, it's just the leader itself, right? So unless you need that extra fire attack or somewhat that extra water attack to kind of damage the enemy, because the enemy can only take water damage or can only take fire damage, then this active skill will be useful, right? Other than that, I find that first armor X active skill is actually better as compared to second armor X, right? But second armor X leader skill in terms of base damage is better than first armor, so you might want to bring in like a second armor X for leader, and then your first armor as your ally, or vice versa, right? As what I said just now, depending on the battle scenario. Alright, and that's all for the card review for all the X models, right? So we have the base model X, we have the first armor X, as well as the second armor X. So let me know in the comments down below which one is your favorite, right? Which one will you be using more often, right? So you guys can let me know whether you prefer even the ultimate armor X as your leader, right? So leave it down in the comment section below. I would like to hear from you guys as well. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, do give it a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.